Hmm. Welcome to the party. Here we are. Everything is about to change. It sounds ominous, and it should, because everything is changing right now and all of the time. And this happens to be the 2nd of January, which is a day after the new year and a day after the new me. Um, I suppose it's like a trend, but ultimately, whether it's a new year or a new day or a new moment in that day, things are always changing. And you can choose for things to remain as previous iterations of yourself, or you can choose to step into a new space, a new realm. And that's a difficult thing to do because we have so much momentum in the direction that we're already going. And that's great if that's what you want. If you're actually headed somewhere where you're content to go, then continue going there. I know for me, I'm always looking to learn and to grow. And while I am headed in a direction, and while I am in a place that I really I'm grateful for and enjoy, I know that there's always another level. And I love getting to the next level. It's really exciting and it's really uncomfortable at the same time. And that discomfort often prevents people from moving to the next place because you're holding on to something in the past or a previous version of yourself that is dominating your actions and your habits. And that's something that needs to be let go of. And we don't need to like discard it, but we need to acknowledge that that was a version of us, that was a version of events that served for a period of time. And now we have the opportunity to go somewhere else, to explore a different area of the map of this world, to explore different people, to explore different interests, different business opportunities, different ways to generate income, different ways to exercise our body. And when we step into these places, it's scary because it's unknown, because we've not been there before. And it's really chaotic a lot of the time. I know for me, when I was like stepping into really owning my own creative path, I delayed it for a long time because I was relatively comfortable when I was doing bar work or, um, spending time doing things that I know didn't really nourish me, like drinking excessively and having hangovers or like waking up in the middle of the night because I needed to go to the bathroom because I had consumed so many fluids. And then even in that moment, going from my bed to the bathroom, I just felt this hangover coming on. And I would always think to myself in those moments, like, I'm never doing this again. It's so common when we have those like tough times. We're like, I'm never doing this again. But then, the hangover dissipates and what do? You go drink again. And then the cycle kind of continues until you reach a breaking point. Um, with that specific instance around drinking, like I reached a breaking point a few years ago because I was like, man, every time I have a hangover, I'm just not able to dedicate the energy that I want to my creative pursuits. And I realized that that was actually my priority. My priority was to be creating and to be building something. And the sacrifice that I chose to make was to let go of the habit of consuming alcohol And that's what worked for me. I mean, I know plenty of people that drink alcohol and have a wonderful time. So it's not like a one size fits all. It serves a lot of people. But I just know that for me, it wasn't something I wanted to do anymore. And I don't even feel compelled to drink alcohol anymore. I don't ever feel tempted. And it's interesting because it took letting go of it to realize, oh, actually I don't really desire this at all anymore. And it's really nice to still be able to socialize, and then I get home and go to bed and get up and I don't feel the effects of a hangover. And there's so many areas in life where we're dedicating our energy for one reason or another. And there may be a consequence. And to identify those areas, and even though, it might be nice to stay in touch with that person that you like staying in touch with, but ultimately you find that it takes away from other areas of your life. It might be a difficult decision, but in letting go of that individual, you reclaim some energy and you can focus that on yourself and onto your own endeavors. And if there's other activities, it's the same for that as well. And when you identify that thing and you make that conscious decision to make the change, it's really exciting because something is going to take its place. And the thing that takes its place is often remarkable. And it's so spooky to take the step because you don't know what the remarkable thing is yet. It's so hard to leave the security of something because you're stepping into uncertainty, and that's crazy. Your mind's like, why would you do that? Like everything is safe here. We know we know what to expect. Everything is like grand, it's tolerable. But if you want that next level of expansiveness, there has to be a period of wondering what the hell you're doing with your life. Letting go of people. It's like, what if I can never find another person like that? What if I can never, increase my income to what it is in this particular job I have right now? Like, what if I can never match that as a self-employed person? Like, if I move to a different location, what if I never find the sense of community and security that I have currently in my place? These are all totally reasonable and natural thoughts to have. But if you allow your thoughts to dictate the actions that you take, you're allowing your thoughts to dictate the reality that you create. And the truth is, your thoughts, as wonderful and well intentioned as they may be, they are unaware of a lot of the universe's plans, we could say. Because our thoughts are based on our experience, right? So it's based on our past experiences. And our past experiences are what we use, is what the mind uses to try and predict what might happen in the future. So if in the past you had a failure, like you attempted to do something and it didn't work out well, you might look ahead to the future and say, well, the thing I tried before didn't work, so like that'll probably happen again, so I just won't bother. I won't bother trying to step into that expanded version of myself. And so what do? You just sit where you are and you let those thoughts, which are in a sense valid, but also they're completely unaware of like what could be in the future. And the only way to find out what's up the head there is to step into it. And yeah, it's scary and it will suck. Like there'll be a period of feeling worse about yourself, feeling scared. Your finances might dip if you're leaving a place of financial certainty and then trying to step into a place of, more expanded finances, you might end up making less money for a while. and do what you can to, prevent that from happening by having whatever savings you might want to have. If you're going to leap, like, don't just jump and not know what's below entirely. Like, you want to, if you're jumping off a cliff, you want to make sure there's water there to catch you. So, allow yourself to, cultivate that before you take the leap. I don't think blindly doing things is super beneficial to your nervous system. I'm not saying that you can't just take a leap and then something magical won't unfold anyway, but the truth is, if you're constantly freaking out, you're not going to be able to act from a place of abundance. You're not going to be able to act from a place of clarity. I know it's really popular in like that manifestation space. People will say, "Oh, just like I booked a 5-star hotel room in this like tropical paradise. It was the last money I had, and then the next day I made, $500,000 or whatever." I don't really believe that. And if that's the case, then there was probably some foundation already in place to allow that to happen. So, like, if you currently don't have any skills or business knowledge or whatever, I would not recommend you to book a 5-star hotel in some tropical island and then go there, um, and have no money. Because the truth is, when it comes to making money, you have to give value to the world. And if you haven't yet identified the value in yourself to begin with, then how are you going to share it with the world? Because it starts with you. We allow our inner world to be reflected in the outer world. And a person that takes a risk ideally is going to believe in themselves. And if you believe in yourself and you take the risk, then other people are going to start believing in you too. But if you're waiting for other people to validate you before you validated yourself in the first place, it probably won't be as effective. And even if people do validate you, you won't believe it because you don't believe it. Because I could tell you that you're an incredible person who's worthy of everything that you desire. And intellectually, you might be like, yeah, I am. But do you actually believe that? Like, have you actually reflected and contemplated to the point where you realize that for yourself? And it's not just some, thought floating around. This is why so many, successful people, and I put air quotes around success because they might externally look successful in terms of accolades and resources and whatnot, but if they don't feel that within themselves, then it's all shallow and it's all empty. And rather than being so focused on the outcome, the reward, whatever the tangible thing is that you want, be it a load of followers on social media or a load of money in your bank account, recognize that that ultimately is just a reflection of the reserves that you have within you. So, like, money is a symbol of value. In and of itself, it actually doesn't mean anything. So if you can identify that you are valuable in and of yourself, then those things will naturally be reflected to you because they're just symbols that represent what you're already seeing within you. I see some people are in the chat now, and I encourage you to ask any questions. I'm just going to be here hanging out, and it's my goal to support you in any way that I can and to share any perspectives that I might have. And I just love engaging with you. So let me know what's going on for you, and I'll hang out here and answer the questions for a bit. Happy New Year, Tom, and Happy New Year to you as well, Jonathan. It is okay to be lost. I feel lost all the time, um, which is beautiful because then you can find new things. Um, sticking to the trail, so to speak, would be, doing the linear path in life that everybody encourages. But the problem with that is it may not be aligned with your unique spirit and your objectives for yourself. And so even though on the surface it might seem like you're doing good, if you don't feel like you're whole yourself, then having the stability of a typical job or career path, whatever it might be, that might not be nourishing for you. And a lot of people end up on that path and then realize at a point that it doesn't nourish them, and you kind of end up lost anyway. So you can try and avoid those feelings, but I do believe that ultimately, if you're not self-actualizing, if you're not tapping into, that well within you, at some point in time you're going to suffer. So you can choose the safe path and then suffer later, or you can choose the more rugged, less less signposted path, and then you kind of just spread the suffering out over the period. Like I feel quite secure at this point in my life and career, and at the same time, I'm always like encountering new challenges and obstacles. So I end up kind of feeling lost again. But then I just do a little bit of research, I try some things, and I overcome the obstacle, and then I, feel really expanded because I've grown in a sense. And then, maybe I'm coasting for a little while. It's like, okay, everything's working, the business is going well, income is there, people are tuning into the videos in my case. But then there'll be periods where everything's just like not looking good. And I really started to question myself. And that's just another opportunity to reflect and to be like, okay, well, what's working? What's not working? What are my blind spots? And how can I see what's in the blind spots? So that might look like, getting support from a mentor, or it might look like um just learning a bit more and reflecting on the things that I've done that maybe didn't provide the results that I was hoping for. So it's always continued growth. And really the point here is like everything is changing all of the time. And you need to get comfortable with that. I feel like a trap I fell into, and probably most other people fall into, is like thinking that the salvation is just up ahead there. It's at that goal, or it's at that revenue, or it's at that relationship or whatever. But yeah, I've had some wonderful experiences in my life, and there a lot of those experiences were things that I thought would really make me not desire or want things anymore. But ultimately, I still want things. I still desire things, and so settling into the process has been really valuable for me. Buttercup 866. I'm sorry to hear you're in that scenario. I suppose identifying a way that you could remove yourself from that situation, and then stepping toward that in whatever way you can, um, because it's really difficult to be in a scenario where you don't feel supported and where you feel drained. And I would say it's your responsibility to do your best to remove yourself from the situation. Um, I don't have a specific roadmap for that circumstance, but I know that a lot changes when your environment changes. And as challenging as that can be, it's ultimately going to be a fruitful process to go through. Eric App reviews: does the process of trying and failing somehow get easier with repetition? Yes, it does. I found that trying and failing really sucks at the beginning when you have not got any results. So I tried and failed with content creation for years and wanted to give up all of the time. Um, but as I kept on practicing and trying and failing, I started to get more results. And there's this saying I like lately. It's called confidence loves evidence. So I suppose the difference now, like when I fail now, I don't let it affect me as much because I'm confident based on the previous evidence that I've done some, impressive things in my opinion. I can do it again. So even if I fail, I know that it's just a matter of time before I end up succeeding again, before I end up, you know, getting to that next level. So yeah, it does get easier with repetition in a sense, but it's still painful. Um, like I put up a video the other day, and it's like I think it's the worst performing video on the entire channel in 134 videos, and that really, really freaking hurt. Um, but rather than dwelling on that, I kind of just have to like be like, okay, well, what was the problem? Maybe the topic wasn't great. Maybe the title, I was trying something different. And also, it was a video that I just really wanted to speak to a camera and I didn't optimize it. So that's kind of what I get, you know. I didn't uh I didn't play the game to the same degree that I usually do. And I acknowledge that and it sucks, but I'm just going to make another video. And I think I've made like 4 videos since then, and I've kind of forgotten about that now. So yeah, it does. Mandy is finding it hard to get motivated. I find it hard to get motivated every day. And I suppose what are you trying to do? Kind of hard to provide any insight without some more context. But like I don't know, for me as an example, like most days I need to make videos or make something. And most days I don't want to. So what I do is I get up and I do something that I want to do. I go for a walk, I go get a coffee. And then by the time I get home, I'm awake. And then I kind of hang out for a little bit and usually watch YouTube videos and get inspired. And then it gets to the point where I'm like, oh shoot, I actually have to go do something now. Otherwise I'll waste the day. And then it's usually tough to do it at the beginning, but once I get into the flow, once I get a bit of momentum, then it starts flowing easier. It's like getting on a bike. At first, it's tough to start moving, but once the wheels are spinning, it gets a lot easier. And then you're in motion. So I would say you're never, like most of the time, you're not going to feel motivated. And if you do feel motivated, it's at a time where it's completely inappropriate to feel motivated, in which case you wouldn't act anyway. Like I was doing a breath work on the weekend, and I was really motivated to make like this really nice dessert with nuts and dates and stuff like that and chocolate. And as soon as I got home, I had no desire to do it anymore because I wasn't hungry anymore. So the point is, you just got to like really identify the thing that you want to go for and then realize that you're probably not going to want to do it most of the time and then just do it anyway. And then once you're in the flow of it, it'll start to feel easier. It'll start to feel more enjoyable. And um, if it's something that you truly care about, you should be enjoying it at points, not always, but at points. And if you're never enjoying it, then it's probably not something that uh, you need or want in your life. In which case, you probably end up feeling a bit lost for a while until you find the next thing. and in order to find the next thing, just try doing different things and see how it works. See, do you enjoy it? See, do other people enjoy it? Um, and then just go from there. I'm on question answering mode now, so if there's no questions, there's not much for me to talk about. Um, I'd love to hear what are your resolutions? What are your ambitions? What are you stepping into? Um, for me, I I'm doing a creator sprint starting on Monday, so that's going to take up the first quarter of my year. Is really focusing on all of the people there that are building out their creative process, and that's a beautiful experience for me because there's so much unknown in this phase for me, and I'm learning and growing through that process and feeling all sorts of emotions, but having a curiosity to that process is proven to be really beneficial because it's natural that I would feel that way going into unknown. It's natural that anybody would feel that way going into an unknown territory. And while we're all capable and equipped to be in that space, there's still stuff that you can't foresee. And that's where the mind starts saying, oh, well, this is going to happen because last time that happened. And yeah, it's just a beautiful opportunity to grow and to learn. And, um, having that mission, having that goal, that task to execute on really helps to quiet the mind. Because if you're just scattered and not going in a direction, you end up just like spinning your wheels, walking in circles. You got to remember, it's not about perfection. It's about just doing something and allowing that to unfold. Because you're going to grow and get results in the most unexpected ways. And that's a mistake that we make, is that we think that A leads to B. But the thing is, like, A might lead to D, and then T, and then X, and then back to B. So when you're open to that, you're not going to get as freaked out when you start feeling nervous about something that you feel like you should be confident about. Hey, Dom. I'm good. I'm good, brother. Um, so Eric, you're talking about finding actual passions. The best way to find what interests you is to just try different things. Um, you know, just look at what other people are doing. That's a good starting point because other people are doing things because they're getting some sort of benefit from it. And you may also be able to get the same benefit. Um, you know, I always talk about running as an example, or rock climbing. Um, I used to always see people running and think, oh, they're so stupid because they're running. But then I realized, but there's obviously a reason that they're running because otherwise they wouldn't be doing it all the time. And, I ended up becoming a runner last year and the year before. I ran a marathon and then an ultra marathon this year or last year. And I really understood and became quite passionate about exercising my body and mind and spirit in that way. And if I had just like not tried it, then you know I would have just been looking at all these runners and thinking they're stupid. So the same with rock climbing. I had a friend. He was always rock climbing, like he loved rock climbing, It's all he talked about. And I'd never tried it. So, I tried it one day and I was like, "Oh my god, this is really enjoyable." So, I suppose you'd be surprised by what it is that will actually bring you joy. And a good place to start is by just starting something. Go to a class, um, see if it resonates with you. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. Just don't do it again. But you will find something that does um, resonate with you. I suppose the biggest barrier is kind of getting out of your comfort zone because it's scary to go to a new class. It's scary to go to a new place. It's scary to join a club. It's scary to start a new skill. But if you can get past that fear and believe in the possibility that there is something in it for you, then it'll get a lot easier and it'll bring more energy into your life. It'll be more expansive for you. Um, and ultimately, it's about finding your unique recipe for success in your life because it's going to look different for everybody. So, you want to try doing things and identify, does this energize me? Does this make me excited? And if the answer is yes, then that's probably something that you should keep doing in your life. And if you don't feel energized, if you feel depleted, if you feel uh, sad after doing something, like I feel sad after spending too much time on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And so I try to reduce my use of that website. Um, does that mean I avoid it completely? No, I'm a human. I go there because it's something to do, it's something to escape the pain of a moment, but ultimately I also know the things that energize me. So that's why I'm going rock climbing later. That's why I'm doing this live stream because I love interacting with people. I love speaking and sharing ideas. That's why I make YouTube videos because I love telling stories and I love, you know, exporting a video and watching it and being like, wow, that's a cohesive piece that I just created. And, you know, some people might enjoy it and it might make a difference in their day. And I love that. It's energizing. And it's difficult at the same time to do those things. Like I don't always want to sit down in front of the camera and talk. I was nervous before coming on this live stream because I have these expectations and I want to be saying useful things, but it's normal that I would feel that way. Um, and some of my things that I think are terrible, like other people find something else in them. Like other people find things valuable that I don't necessarily feel super proud about, but that's just human nature. Like we're interpreting things through our own lens. And I think that's something that we underestimate a lot of the time. Hi, Ram and Dentor. Good for you, starting traveling. Where are you gonna go? And where do you live at the moment? Jonathan, we should shift the belief that failing is the end, focusing instead on extracting its lessons as failure is proof we're trying and it's one of our greatest opportunities. That's beautifully said. Yeah. Failure is just a concept. It's based on this narrative that there is a expectation that needs to be met. And if that expectation is not met, we call it failure. Now, the whole thing about expectations is a trap in and of itself. And that's based on like our collective narrative. And we say that certain things are valuable, other things aren't valuable. So we try to move toward the things that are perceived as valuable and away from things that are perceived as invaluable. So we create an expectation. It's like I want to avoid this and I want to get that. And like that's fine in and of itself. Like I think it's good to move toward things that you want, but if you don't get the thing that you want right away, to call it a failure is it's just unhelpful. I feel like it's better to say something like, "Oh, I'm not there yet," or like, I've learned this now, and now I'm taking the next step." And failure, like for me, because I fail all the time with different things, by my own metrics, and what I've really shifted into doing, like in particular over the last like year, and it's very apparent to me when I fail because when I post a video on YouTube, if it doesn't perform well, it's a failure. So my failures are quite tangible. Or like if I'm like launching something or whatever and it fails, then like if it doesn't work, then I can call it a failure. But ultimately, like if I post a video and it doesn't work well as I intended, then I just look at the different elements that have gone into it and I reflect upon why they didn't give me the desired outcome, and then I can improve on that for next time. And I've never met a person that doesn't go through that process. Like really successful people all go through that process. And I think what really makes them successful is that they go through the process. And when something doesn't work out as they intended, they ask people for help, and they ask like what did go right and what didn't go right, as it relates to what the objective was. And if you can do that, then the failures, they're not failures anymore. They're just like opportunities for reflection and growth. And if you make that your goal, if you make the goal of your life to just commit to the journey and to be on the journey, then when you fail, you're just like, okay, great, cool. This is part of the journey. I'm committed to the journey. I'm going to deal with it in the best way that I can. And I suppose if you're trying to avoid failure, you're trying to avoid the journey. And if you're trying to avoid the journey, then you're screwed because the journey's happening, whether you want it to happen or not. Yeah, man, I appreciate that, Eric. And that's the thing. It's like I suppose pretty much everything I do nowadays, my past version of self from like 3 years ago would view it as a success. But since I've evolved since then, I have different expectations for myself. And that's just natural. That's just a part of being a human. Um, so for me, with where I'm at and like where my bar is set, like personally, I would view those things as like, oh, that didn't go as I wanted. But at the same time, that doesn't mean it wasn't valuable because people do receive the value from it. And also I receive the lesson from that experience. So yeah, it's not a failure. I suppose is the whole point here. The failure is just a concept. It's not really real. We just have expectations that are met or they're not met, and then from that point we move. There's 10 people here. I'm sure one of you guys has a question. Where is everybody based in the world? I'm in Ireland. The sun is setting now. It's 4:10 and it starts to get dark outside. Ryan, have you ever heard that voice in the back of your head that tells you it's too late, and how I worked it out? Yeah, I have it all the time. Um, it's not too late. Like too late is like based on a presumption that there's a time that things need to be done, which is it's just untrue. It's not real. And the it comes back to the expectation again. It's like if you expect that in order to be successful, or whatever that means for you, it has to happen by the age of 32, then you're going to reach age 32 and be like, oh, I failed. Um, or like it's too late now. I have to go do something else. But actually, you don't. Um, it's true that there's like trends and there's like the majority case scenario where people, you know, a lot of people by age 22, let's say, will have their first job. And I would say the majority of people do at that age. And at the same time, there's plenty of 14-year-olds that decide to just become an entrepreneur. And at the same time, there's plenty of people that, spend the first 40 years of their life being down a different path. And then at age 41, they decide to educate themselves and to do stuff. So I suppose know that there are outliers in all cases and scenarios. Um, and you could be one of them. So persist down the path. Like what is it that you feel like you're too late to? Like what is it? I'm curious to know, Ryan. Um, because yeah, like that outlier mentality has really helped me with that. Um, and also knowing that the thing that you think you're too late to, be it an achievement or whatever, it's not going to change the way that you feel anyway. As sad as that sounds. Like if you had the thing that you think you're too late to achieving, you'd probably just be feeling like you're too late to achieving something else, or you'd be having some other excuse to be sad. That's my experience with it anyway. Um, nice one, no trucks given. I lived in Vancouver for a year and a half. I used to work downtown in a bar called Malone's, if you ever heard of it. It was on Seymour and Pender, I think. So if you're still here, then you can pop in a question. You can pop in a hello. I'm hoping you're having a lovely day wherever you are. And probably stick around for as long as there's people here, I suppose. Um, if you are, if you've been interested as well in the 90-day creator sprint that I'm starting on Monday, I'll throw a link into this chat. You can go there and you can apply for it or learn more about it. It's going to be a really exciting little journey for anybody who's participating in it. That's where I'm going to be dedicating most of my focus for the next few months. So yeah, I'm excited to see how the YouTube channel transforms throughout that period as well. I've got some exciting like artistic projects that I'm going to be working on. I've got one title idea. It's going to be The Day After I Died. And it's going to be a reflection on these mini deaths that we go through every day. And, it could be the death of a version of you that had a job or a version of you that had a relationship, and really like looking into the source of the pain and the hardship and the fear and the anger and all of those things that come with a transition in life. Because there's been so many like crazy expansive experiences that I've gone through over the last few months that I really want to honor in a beautiful cinematic art piece. Any new thoughts on moving to Austin in the future? Um, I just don't see a point in me moving to the US at this point in time. I really did want to for a long time, but that was because I was like unhappy with my life at the time. Um, And since I've like created a life that I'm actually really excited about, I'm content to just be where I am. And I suppose it's also put me in the position where like I could move and like get a visa and whatnot because of the business. Um, but also like I don't need to like, and funnily enough, like most of the people that I work with are in the US anyway, and I'm here. So yeah, I guess it would be good for networking and better weather and stuff like that. But at the moment, I'm pretty content here, and yeah. Big B. Are you concerned about smartphones and the verge of adding AI in phones? Is the Google 9 phone ad showing people talking to it about anything? Um, well, funnily enough, I have a video coming out tomorrow about smartphones again, so it's going to be the third one because those videos do quite well, and I yeah, I just like giving my perspective. Like I'm not really anti phone or AI. I think there's elements that are harmful, but ultimately you're a sovereign person that can make your choices. And that's what this video is about tomorrow. I think that there is little benefit to like fearing these things. Like I could be wrong. Maybe we should like maybe I should be afraid, but like I just know that it's not helpful for me. Like it doesn't help me be a kinder human, doesn't help me be happy, it doesn't help me with my creative projects. So you know, I have built my whole career on digital media and phones, and AI helps as well um, with stuff. But like ultimately, I'm a unique person, and maybe at some point AI will be able to replicate that. But at this point in time, it's not, and not really. I'm not like preparing for chaos or whatever. Like if it happens, I'll deal with it. If it doesn't, you know, it's fine. This kind of comes back to what I was talking about earlier on in the stream is like you have the present to take actions from. And if you're taking all of your actions based on uh, fiction, then like how aligned are you really in the actions that you're taking? So that's my personal take on it. I know a lot of people would be more cautious or whatever, but yeah, I'm just confident in my ability to navigate challenging situations that I might find myself in. So if that happens, I'll figure it out. If it doesn't happen, it's fine. Ryan, finding out our actual purpose. Too late to find out your purpose. That's what you're concerned that it's too late to find your purpose. You know, I have always had a really good sense of what I wanted to do in this life from a, career perspective. Like I've always been creating, I've always been making music, I've always been telling stories. And I met someone, like 7 years ago, and she really didn't know what she wanted to do with her life. And she was like 30, in her early 30s at the time. And she didn't know what her purpose was. And that was like a bit of a shock to me because I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that people didn't know what their purpose was. But here's the thing about purpose: purpose is not some tangible thing that you latch onto. Purpose is not like my purpose is to be a musician, my purpose is to be a YouTuber, my purpose is to be a plumber. No, it's not. That's not what purpose is. Like, purpose is something that happens in each and every moment. And maybe, Ryan, your purpose in this moment is to be okay with not knowing exactly what it is you need to do, with not knowing exactly what your future is going to look like, with not knowing if your life is going to be everything you hoped it would be. It's okay to not know those things. And I would say that that is what purpose is, like in each and every moment, to just be present with what is unfolding. And as someone who, felt like I had like a deep purpose from a very young age, I've kind of come to realize that, you know, even when you have a purpose, you always have the question like, well, how do I actualize my purpose? Like, how do I get there? So that wasn't like a solution either. And I suppose to reiterate on something I spoke about earlier, just try doing different things. Like, if you don't know what to do, just do anything. Like, go out of your comfort zone. Like, if you're nervous about, I don't know, socializing, go and speak to the barista and don't just order your coffee. Actually ask them how they are and wait for them to respond and engage in a conversation and, just do things that are different to what you usually do, because we end up suffocating ourselves with the known, and we don't exercise our spirit. And I think when we talk about purpose, that's kind of like, it's in the realm of like existentialism. And when you just try different things and allow the things that you do to have a reaction, you get these glimmers in your life. And those glimmers are things that make you be like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Like right now it's pretty cool. And then you're not like worried about a long-term purpose or achieving specific things. I find it funny, uh, when I go to coffee shops or whatever, I'll ask the person, how are you? And so often they just stare blankly at me. And I'll be looking at them like waiting, and they'll be looking at me waiting, and they're like waiting for me to order the coffee. But I'm like, I'm here to find out how you are first. That's my priority. Um, and sometimes people are like, oh, I'm just not used to being asked that. And that right there is really just a beautiful moment. Like, that's my purpose in that moment. And maybe that's the last thing I do. Like maybe the coffee's got poison in it and I just die. And it's like, well, I'm glad that I got that experience with that person, to be in presence with that human, to care about them, and to see them and to have them feel cared for. Like that's, really meaningful for me. Yeah, I'm really big on exercising the spirit lately, because I think it's just neglected. We're all about like learning with our mind and exercising our body and like nourishing our body with food and stuff like that. But the spirit is like another part of our being that needs to be exercised. And I think we exercise it through connection. And, we can connect to people by speaking, by expressing ourselves, but we can also connect by creating, because it's another form of expression, right? Um, and like if you're not doing those things, your spirit's just sitting on the couch. Your spirit is a big couch potato. And it's just like obese. So you want to exercise your spirit, you want to create things, you want to explore, you want to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And that's exercising the spirit. That's like doing pull-ups for your spirit. Like so many people are just going around with like a spirit that is just like stagnant or like a big blob. You got to get some tone and definition into your spirit. And yeah, the way we do that is by getting out of our comfort zone, I feel, really. And unpacking the things that are going on inside us. So we got 14 people. Oh no, that was 8 people. Wow, it just changed really quick. Maybe people didn't like the spirit analogy. Getting too getting too hippie here. If anyone has any questions, pop them into the chat. We'll be hanging out here for a little bit more. Usually these streams are like an hour long on average when I've done them in the past, and then people stop engaging with me. It's also getting dark here, so it's getting a bit noisy on the camera. My resolution for the year is to figure out how to have a proper streaming setup, because I feel like a complete novice sitting here with a webcam. But I want to interact with you, and I just don't have the technical knowledge yet on how to do a live stream for the camera. I don't think it's possible with my camera, because, well, maybe it is, but I don't have the correct cables. If anybody knows about that, maybe you could let me know. Yeah, it's like an area of growth for me that I need to embark into. If you haven't already, I would highly recommend you watch the latest video I uploaded, because I feel the concepts that I've shared in there are like really fundamental to a lot of what I'm talking about here, in terms of like being confident with where you're at, and also being confident about where you're going, and being confident about not knowing how to get to where you're going. And yeah, it's just like the 4 principles of it are to believe that you can, which refers to your mindset. And the second principle is to build leverage in your life, because that gives you back time. And when you have more time, you get to exercise your spirit, you get to exercise your body, you get to exercise your mind, you get to explore things that you might not otherwise get to explore. The third principle in the third principle is to be curious, because when you're curious, you don't look at failure as failure anymore. You see it as a learning opportunity. And when you look at it as a learning opportunity, you just end up growing and you end up getting better. And then the fourth part is to play, because I think if you're not playing, you're not exercising all of your parts. You're not exercising your mind, body, and spirit if you're not able to play, because playing is like a deeply healing experience, and it's very expansive. And I think we look at play in this society as like, oh, that's something as a bonus. It's like, to me, it's not a bonus. It can't be a bonus. It's fundamental, because when you play, you're just like in a flow. And when you're in a flow and you're not thinking about the past and the future, ideas pop in, and those are the ideas that are going to take you to the next level. Like, that's I don't know what you want to call it. That's the universe whispering to you. Like, that's your deeper knowing whispering to you what the next step is, what the next thread to follow is. And if you never quiet yourself to the point where you can hear those messages, then you're just going to be forever moving to the beat of somebody else's drum. I'm glad you got a workout in, Eric. That's good for you, brother. How long did it take me to become more confident on camera? Well, I've always been kind of confident on camera, in the sense that like I've been acting since I was a kid in different plays and stuff like that. And then I did some films and commercials and stuff like that. So I was never a stranger to productions. But then when it came to like talking to the camera on YouTube, I suppose I was pretty awkward for a while. As I said, I've felt awkward at the start of this live stream. So I am confident in a sense, but probably not in the sense that you think. It's not like I'm like, oh, let's go do this. Time to make an epic video. I'm confident in the process of talking to the camera, which involves being nervous. It involves screwing up. Like most of the videos on the channel, they're 10, 20 minutes long. The footage I record is probably an hour long for most of them, maybe 40 minutes to an hour. And the stuff that you don't see is the part where I'm like really frustrated, where I'm like calling myself an idiot. And so am I confident on camera? Sometimes, but more so I'm confident with the process of making a video, which involves being awkward. It involves making a lot of errors. It involves um sometimes, I'll film something and I'm like, this just sucks, and I'll delete it and I'll try again the next day. So yeah, I think rather than being confident on camera, just be confident with the journey of making content. Same with life, just be confident with the failures. I think you asked the question earlier on, or someone asked the question, does the process of failing somehow get easier with repetition? And it's the same when it comes to being on camera and talking. Like it never really, the awkwardness and stuff doesn't really go away. Like maybe like there's less awkwardness, but fundamentally I am just more comfortable with being awkward. I hope that's useful. I'm gonna go rock climbing soon, so if anyone has any last questions, you can pop them in. Reminder, the deadline for the applications for the 90-day creator sprint is this weekend, so you can just go to my website or the link in the chat there. I'll put a pinned comment as well, and you can submit your interest and we can have a conversation about it. So I'm speaking personally with everybody that wants to come, because it's just like not going to be a fit for everybody, and I just want to make sure that it's going to be a win-win for everybody. So that's why I'm just interviewing everybody before we go ahead with it. But feel welcome to check it out, and we can have a conversation. Have I ever used psychedelics as a tool for personal development? I don't know if I used them as a tool for personal development. I have used them. When I was in Vancouver, actually. Yeah, I found that entrepreneurship has been the most valuable tool for my personal development. And I have had experiences that were really profound. But I don't know that I ever had any crazy breakthrough. I don't know that I learned anything that revolutionized the way that I live in this life. I suppose the biggest takeaway from my experiences was to respect those substances and those tools. I think it's like it's a huge experience in a very short period of time. And maybe on a subtle level, it changed me in ways that I don't even know. But it's definitely not something that I lean on in my experience. Like I'm well aware that there's plenty of research and uses for psychedelics at this point in time. But yeah, just for me personally, um, it's not something I invest too much of my time into. Um, I just think like living life is is enough for me. And there's this statement that I've been contemplating lately, which is mundane before the magical. And I think if you can find magical in the mundane, that is incredible. And I know that sometimes I've chased the magical because I didn't want the mundane. But I realized in order to live a truly magical life, at this point in time anyway, this is my hypothesis. I could change my mind. To find magic in those moments that are just boring, like the monotonous task of doing your taxes. If you can find magic in that, that's pretty cool. Hey, water girl. Hey, nature girl. It's funny that you're both girls with names that are relating to the earth. La da 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 da. Okay, I'm gonna do one more question. So hopefully someone asks a question, because otherwise we'll be here all night. Thank you so much for that lovely comment. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. I do my best, but I am a fallible human, just as we all are. Um, yeah, I think if more people created, we would have more inspiration. That's something that like I've really been become very aware of through talking to a lot of people lately. Um, that like, there's so many people with so much wisdom, so many insights, so much inspiration, so many lessons to share that just aren't doing it because they have some sort of mental blockage that's preventing them from expressing it. And that's the difference between, you know, being someone that, people call inspiring and not. It's like, are you putting the information out there? Because if you are, I guarantee that some people are going to benefit from it. And yeah, I just want to encourage you to to do it and be okay with being awkward, be okay with nobody wanting to watch it. Um, it's like part of the game. But yeah, nonetheless, I appreciate that lovely comment. So thank you. And I will enjoy rock climbing. So technically, there's not been a question asked. So I still need a question because I've just got 2 comments. Hmm. I'm answering questions if you just joined. It'd be cool if I could see who's here. Hmm. Wow, that's so kind of you to share that with me. I'm really grateful that what I've created is able to bring you some peace in those moments of panic. Uh, yeah, I really appreciate that, and thanks for letting your partner know about what we have going on with the creator sprint as well. And enjoy work. Thank you for your service as a crisis therapist. Uh, okay. Still, there hasn't been a question, so if someone asks a question in the next 2 minutes, I'll answer it, and if not, then I'll just go. And if you're just tuning in at this point, check the replay. I'm going to leave it up for a replay so you can hear what we talked about. There's some cool questions, and they inspired some insights. So thank you all. Have a good day, Eric, man. Take it easy, brother. What am I thankful for today? Today I'm thankful for the ability to sit here and have this conversation with everybody here, to just express myself and to be of service, and to have the flexibility to do that, and to have built this foundation that allows me to do that, because there's no other way I would rather spend my day. And yeah, it's pretty surreal to have this be part of the work that I do. So yeah, I'm thankful for you, I guess, because without people tuning in, then I wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you. Hey, Paul, appreciate that, brother. I would recommend, if you visit this website link that I'm going to post here, click on that and have a look and see if that's something that interests you. And if it does, then we can have a conversation. So you'll be able to book a free call there to talk to me, and we can talk about it there and see if it might be a fit for you. And glad to hear that you're new, guys, as well. You're so welcome. I really appreciate all the new people tuning in. How do I get out of the rut of sleeping all day, recovering cancer patient? Well, I'm really sorry to hear that you're going through that. And I'm not sure if you're in the all clear yet, but sending you support. And I suppose, to answer that question, I think be gentle on yourself. It's completely natural and normal to feel exhausted and to be, stagnant for a while, I guess. And then if you feel like you're at the point where you do have the strength and ability to get up and do some things with your day more often, then identify something that you can do. Like pick a goal like the night before and say, okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to get up at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or noon or whatever time suits you. And I'm going to go for a short walk, or I'm going to go and make some soup, or I'm going to go and sit downstairs and read my book. Um, and just slowly get back into it. Um, I had a I had like a small procedure myself this month and or last month, and was on a kind of a recovery plan for a little while, and I was sleeping in, and I just wasn't feeling good about myself at all, and at the same time, I kind of realized, well, this is kind of normal to feel this way because I've just gone through this and I've been on a lot of uh, like medical things. So it's going to take some time for my body to get back to where it was, and it's going to take some time for me to find that inspiration again. So just slowly get back into it and be gentle with yourself and don't expect too much. But having some small goal of a task that you want to achieve is going to help you get out of bed for sure. Because if you don't have that agreement with yourself, it's very easy to be like, oh well, I don't know what to do. I'll do it tomorrow instead. So that's my encouragement there. I hope that's of help. And yeah, as I say, wishing you support and then healing during this time. Um, okay. So if there's no more questiones, mm, yeah, take your time, Phantom Canuck. It's not a small feat that you've been through, so allow however many weeks or months or years, I don't know the extent of your journey so far, but yeah, just be kind to yourself. Alrighty, guys. I'm gonna leave it at that, I think. Take care of yourselves. Um, have a beautiful year ahead. See you again very soon. Um, feel welcome to comment and rewatch this with any questions or whatever. I'll be responding to all the comments. And yeah, final call as well for the applications for the 90-day creator sprint. We're starting on Monday. So that's the 6th of January. And if you're seeing this after that, then check the link and see if there's any openings available, or there might be a wait list as well for you. So yeah, that's what's happening. That's what the focus is going to be, in addition to videos over the next few months. And take care of yourself. Have a beautiful rest of your day, evening, night, wherever you are in the world. Bye.